The first person is Cecilia Dallas Riggs.
Everybody wake up, wake up.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Madam President, Mr. Vice President, Mrs. Montero, how are you?
I also want to recognize that it's the Honorable Cecilia Riggs, who's a former councilwoman in Roselle.
And board member.
And board member.
I want to say that I'm very impressed with your meeting, a little long, but very good. I came here to say something wonderful about the young lady, Miss Shirley. And I couldn't think of what I wanted to say. I also want to compliment the board for recognizing that they need to feed your children wherever they go. Because sometimes they do come to school already hungry. And then to take them to a facility where they're hungry for the rest of the day. Sometimes parents are not always conscientious of the meal in the IEP. That being said, when I wanted to say something about Charlene, I looked up on the wall, and after sitting here 3 hours, I realized that everything I wanted to say, not only about her, but also about this board, has to do with the words on your board. Equity, expectations high, and excellence. Those are some of the qualities I see in Miss Beckles. I also, she makes me get choked up. I also listened to her say that 3 of her teachers are now principals. What a testimony to this community that this is a product of your school district. Sitting here, a young lady, the youngest member of the Board of Education. I was listening to Mr. Montero and I was thinking the Alpha and the Omega. So, oldest and the youngest. I was thinking that at Miss Beckles' age, she could be anywhere, but she's here serving the families and the community, setting an example for other young people her age. When I was her age, I was in the club. Now that my children are her age, they won't let me in the club. She could be anywhere, but she's here serving you guys under the banner of equity, which is fairness. Excellence, which is what she portrays, and high expectations is what I have of you. Thank you so much for your service to your community, to your family, to your city, and to the children of Elizabeth, and not only Elizabeth, but to New Jersey. You guys are doing a magnificent job. Keep up the equity. Keep up the high expectations. And most of all, keep your board diversified. Show people what young people are doing in this community. She's not a gangbanger. She's not on drugs. She's not in the streets. She's here serving your community. How awesome is that?
He's training with harness.
Probably left 4 hours. She took the harness to take to the horse.
Christina Moreira.
I'm tired. Before I start my speech, I would just like to say it is appalling, unlike what this councilwoman just said, that a board meeting that we have to wait 4 hours to make a public presentation. I think you should go on YouTube and see what a board meeting is supposed to be like. I have never seen a board meeting have all this singing and dancing and presentations of high schools. That should be done at another point in time. A board meeting is a meeting of the board, not a song and dance. All right, so the reason I'm here is because the new school year is off and running, and I still have no answer as to how the district distributes monies for school trips. I still have yet to see the free trip every child is entitled to, according to what the superintendent stated at the previous meeting. From what I have heard along the way, it is that there is $7 or $8 designated per pupil for transportation of school trips in the budget. What I don't still know is how this money is being distributed. I am confused If there is money allocated in transportation per pupil, then how do we still have to pay $250 transportation fee per trip, money that gets paid to transportation? It's a little confusing. Mr. Montero and Superintendent, I would like to offer some suggestions, solutions to this, which was what I was planning on doing at our meeting that was canceled by the board lawyer. Each school should be given their $8 per pupil. However, many students, for the sole purpose of school trips, once the school has the money, they should allocate that money per class. Every child deserves a trip outside the classroom. There are so many learning opportunities that can be had. Not sure if there's a list of places by grade that teachers can have trips, or if they are free to choose a place as long as it is educational. But an effort should be made. Now I want to speak to the issue of Teach to One, especially at my daughter's school. First, I reviewed the grant, and in it I found that Monica Martinez, former supervisor of innovative programming from April to June, was named to oversee the project and assist in coordinating evaluations and implementation efforts at Elizabeth Public Schools. She also managed the district's implementation of the I3 grant in partnership with New Classrooms. Carlos Lucio, the former principal accused by 40 women of sexual harassment, is now in that position due to the agreement struck by him and members of his board. The deal was approved by Montero, Ospina, Pereira, Trujillo, and Amin. Is he now named in the grant? Has he been trained in implementation of Teach to One? Is he also assisting in coordinating evaluations at School 21 or any other school? Most importantly to me, I am sure project oversight means he would have to be present in the school and in the classrooms to see how the program is being run. Has he been on site to any of these locations? And I hope the answer is no. Because if this man should come anywhere near my daughter's school or into the building, I think we're going to have issues. I don't think my 3 minutes are up.
Thank you, 3 minutes.
Yeah, they put a timer.
They have a timer. Oh, they have a timer. Oh, for me, they have a timer. They must have implemented
Wendy
this.
Rain.
That would be a special time. It's okay, I'll finish next time. Oh, look.
Good evening. I'm just going to speak about the August minutes where Commissioner Trujillo stated that it was very substantial amount of money. It shows a commitment and continued commitment to the success of all children, including those with disabilities and challenges. Mr. Trujillo commended the board for continuing to support these children despite what some may think it's not true that we're not doing enough. He stated that we're doing a lot more than most districts. Well, I wanted to get into the funds that we're spending and fighting the parents that were granted out-of-district services. There are some parents that had to take the district to court, back and forth. I had one parent who spent over $20,000 on a lawyer, and going through all this mitigation, due process, litigations, right before they were, in fact, given the right to go out-of-district, which made no sense. I met parents that were lied to, diapers were called on them, even threatened with their immigration status. At least four sitting up here tonight representing Latinos. And you turn your backs on them. What happened to the Latino Lives Matter campaign that Trujillo always says? I feel that it doesn't apply to the special needs community. Are you also aware that School 7 had no speech therapist and no case manager? What about those kids? Don't they matter? To sit here and say that there are no issues in the special needs department is irresponsible, as when two of your school psychologists told me that Andres, my son, does not have autism because when they walked in the room, he gave them eye contact. Well, you should give me credit because there's a lot of hard work to get him where he is today, as with two of your teachers that work with him constantly throughout the day. I know that the special needs department will never be perfect. I'm not asking for perfection, but I am asking for communication, reliable information, and for a CPAC, which by law the district has to provide. Extended school year was another issue. Andres did not receive PT as it was stated in his IEP. Here's my proof. Transportation was an issue. He was walked half a block. He's a runner. It's not an option. So can you please speak to Lester Dominguez? He needs to be door-to-door transportation. There's no programs that my son can participate in. I feel like in a way it's discrimination. There's two sitting here tonight that have a career working with special needs, two that may have special needs, and there's nothing. The Special Olympics offers a lot of things for schools, and we could also do. I pay for ABA, speech, OT, PT, neurologist, physiatrist, behaviorist, orthopedics. My son has gone through Botox injections, serial casting, leg brace, hand braces. So, Ospina, when I received your letter in the mail, I was a little offended because you're telling me about the statistics in autism that goes beyond the classroom. I know what it is because I live it every single day. What should have been in the mail was you explaining to people what autism is and how we can help also at home, especially in Spanish, because my father, who was not born in this country, has no idea how to handle.
Next person is Maria Lorenz.
They wanted to hear us.
Keep talking. They get down on dots for a minute.
Yeah.
Right?
It goes by the weight.
In that case, I'm a lightweight baby. Good evening. Tonight I want to address some improprieties. I find it highly inappropriate that young adults are sent out to campaign for Montero, Espina, and Velez. They get paid $10 per hour when you all complain of an unsafe city, yet you're sending out our children to campaign for you. EEA salary is approved by the board, yet the EEA is used to gather political support that is one-sided. EEA campaigns for those that approve their salaries. It's smart, but very stupid, because it is a clear conflict of interest. There is illegal solicitation during work hours utilizing Board of Education emails. As a matter of fact, there's a board policy, read it, it's number 1314, soliciting funds by school personnel. This is being reported yet again. I wasn't sharp enough to beat it to the punch on you, sorry. I'm sure this is a way for the attorneys Tony Montero introduced back in 2013, Edelstein. Speaking of legal fees, Montero is on this committee. Edelstein has been paid $6.8 million, Pashman paid $1.4, Bruce Rosen $1.3, and an indicted attorney, Frank Capici, paid $717,000. Why is he still getting paid if he's been indicted? I would, and so would the parents in our group, appreciate open communication from this district. Example of this is Teach to One, where libraries were eradicated to make room for children to be guinea pigs and lab rats for the district and this program. Furthermore, to appoint Carlos Lucio to a position of where he will be placed in a position to interact with the victims that have accused them of sexual harassment and new teachers to be potential victims is despicable and reckless. I want to know what is the liability insurance amount for this district for such an egregious behavior that you're supporting. In addition, regarding source for teachers, I would like Ms. Hugemeyer to advise how much money the district has saved. I also want to ask why last month there was a list of approved substitute teachers filed with the district. Were not all aides part of the privatization of source for teachers? In conclusion, I want to end with yet another injustice committed, at heart's length of which Giuliano, Farina, Lester Dominguez, Juliana Sabo, and Paul Perez, the director, have been granted full use of the public schools, yet other organizations have been turned away or it was made difficult. I want to know how this organization receives special treatment to distribute their materials in our children's backpacks. Yet flyers for special needs programs such as the Elizabeth Poor Support Group are only recognized and useful when it's campaign season. Mr. Pereira, Montero, and Ospina, you remember your photo opportunity last year, don't you, with our special needs children? The other note I will leave you with is Ms. Hugemeyer. Where is our CPAC? 2 months into the school year and there's no mention of it. Didn't you pass a regulation back in March of this year stating that the names will be provided back in July? We're still waiting.
Thank you. Next person is Maria De Rossi.
You could keep waiting.
Those are my shoes. I dare any of you to walk in my shoes before you all judge me and talk about me. 50 years of my life, you don't know nothing about me. So before you judge me, you walk in my shoes and then you could talk about me. Because I'm tired of each side coming to attack me. It's election time, I'm not attacking nobody. So before any of you anymore think that you could attack me, you walk in my shoes and then you talk about me. Because really, down deep in yourselves, you don't know who I am. I'm a person with passion, that fought for the kids for 27 years. I've dedicated myself to the children of Elizabeth. I don't put a resume out there because what I do for the kids in Elizabeth, I do it out of passion and out of my heart. So before anybody decides that they want to talk, I'll give you 2 hours in my shoes of the 50 years that I've lived. Also, the 6 principals that was here, don't you think that this should have been done in each of the schools? Where the parents could hear the achievements, not here to an empty boardroom. This is not where it should have been done. We have a child here that's been waiting for a mother to speak. The child is sleeping, and you all say that you care about children. I mean, board president, don't you have a heart? If it was your child, would you appreciate that? I forgot, you don't have a heart. You know how to turn your back on people that trusted you and believed you. Yeah, I'm calling you out. Because I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of you or anybody that sits here. So before you want to talk about me, walk in my shoes. And then you know who the real Maria is. Because actually you don't know me until you sit in my home with a cup of coffee. And if you haven't had coffee, that's because I don't want you in my house. Okay? So another thing, special education. You don't know what it is like until you have a child of your own that's suffering. You talk about, Elsie, about special ed. Do you have a child that has special ed? Well, then you should know the struggles that these parents are going through. You should know. Don't talk about, because you're a board member, maybe your child gets special privileges. I don't know. I'm just assuming. But you don't know the everyday living, what these parents are going through. I have a special need child. My son went through it, 2 of them. My son was in special ed for 3 years in which I never knew because an EIP was never given to me until I got my lawyers, and all of a sudden everybody wanted to work with Maria.
Thank you, Ms. Arras.
Nobody wants to walk in my shoes? So don't talk about it.
Next person is Billy Bailey.
Good evening, board members, administrators, teachers, parents, and community leaders. My name is Billy Bailey. I am a doctoral student at Montclair State University. I am employed by Kane University as a professional counselor in the Educational Opportunities Center. In our center, 3 programs are housed: EOF, Passport, Program for Academic Support, providing opportunities to remarkable and talented students, and Spanish speaking. I am the program coordinator. I am also an adjunct professor teaching 3 disciplines: counselor, education, public, and business administration. I have known Charlene Bacillus for more than 10 years as a mentee, former student, and sorority sister. I sit on numerous executive boards like yours. My time is extremely valuable when I learned for the opportunity to speak to you regarding the character of Miss Bacillus. I changed my schedule and canceled all my appointments to attend this very important meeting tonight. Since my introduction to Charlene as incoming freshman in the EOF program, I was her counselor and professor in several courses. She has always demonstrated superior leadership skills, a true team player, scholar, strong family values, scholarship recipient, practice ethical behaviors, and provide mentoring to students in her church community as well as in her sorority. Charlene comes from a family with impeccable morals and values. She is a daughter, a sister, and the eldest in her family. As an elder sibling, her responsibilities are magnificent, and she is expected to be a positive role model for her younger brothers. She and her brothers are proud to be prodigies of Elizabeth School System. Charlene is an educated young minority woman, and she is a role model to our children in this community. She is not just an advocate for Haitian community, but she's an advocate for all ethnic backgrounds in the city of Elizabeth and its surrounding counties. Now, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know about Charlene. To some, she may be a threat. To others, she offers the opportunity for hope and education and goodwill to all who crosses her path. When you hear words like dedication, loyalty, responsible, mature, high achiever, values, ethical behaviors, finer woman, team player, but not afraid to lead and not afraid to take back a seat to allow someone else to shine. Those words are a testament to the character of Charlene Backless. Thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedules to attend this board meeting. If you are here tonight, you are here because of the commitment to Elizabeth, its students, and the community at large. God bless you. And this was written by Billy Bailey.
Next person is Joanna La Rosa.
No, you don't see the straight.
It's very Spanish.
Yeah.
Hopefully the clock will get stuck for you.
Muy buenas tardes a todos los presentes. No necesito un traductor porque me quita el tiempo. La razón que vengo hoy a esta reunión pública es para encontrar respuestas a mis múltiples inquietudes, las cuales me hacen reconsiderar y pensar cuál fue la razón de habernos elegido en las decisiones que atañan a nuestros hijos en todo lo que comprende el área educativa. Y cito,
Necesitamos un translator.
So you should be providing her with a translator.
you don't have it.
The Board of
She can
Education is
translate
supposed to have a
me.
translator here. He's not qualified to translate. You need to be on the payroll.
That's all right, they can pay me back.
You can't. It's not.
I'm assigning her for translating.
He's not a competent translator. Sorry.
I'm assigning my translator. I can assign a translator. They told me they can't assign
She's
a
allowed to bring her own translator.
I'm sorry, do you need to consult policy for a minute?
I understood last time.
I'm choose her because they told me they can assign my translator.
The other word.
He told me before I spoke he can be my translator. So I assign her my translator.
Check board policy, she can bring her own translator.
Yes,
His translation
I did.
last time was not what she said.
So I assign her for my
Have a seat.
translator.
Well, let us translate.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Finally.
Well, I need a mic, and you expect me to share a mic.
Okay, 2 minutes. I'm going to start over. Muy buenas tardes a todos los presentes.
Good evening to everybody here.
La razón que vengo hoy a esta reunión pública
The reason I'm coming to this public reunion today
es para encontrar respuestas a mis múltiples inquietudes,
is to find answers to my multiple questions,
las cuales me hacen reconsiderar y pensar
those that make me rethink and reconsider.
cuál fue la razón de haberlos elegido a ustedes
What was the reason for picking and electing each and every single one of you?
como representantes de las decisiones
Like representatives of the decisions
que atañen a nuestros hijos.
that bound our children.
Y cito, elegidos,
And she's citing that you were elected
porque fuimos nosotros, la comunidad,
because it was us, the community,
quien les brindó esa oportunidad
that gave you that opportunity.
cuando ustedes tocaron nuestras puertas
When you knocked on our doors
para contar con nuestro apoyo,
to count with our support
para ser ustedes los responsables
so that you can be responsible,
de velar por la integridad
to look out for the integrity
y bienestar de nuestros hijos.
and the well-being of our children.
Responsabilidad que debería ser
Responsibility that should be
su prioridad
your priority
y no la del suyo propio.
and not of yours.
Y me refiero con esto
And I refer
a todas las situaciones
to every situation
donde nuestros hijos
where our children
son los primeros afectados
are the first to be affected
con los llamados recortes,
with these budget cuts,
haciendo de esto
making of this
un lugar hostil donde vivir
a hostile environment where to live
y estudiar,
and to study,
ya que en medio de esta crisis económica,
being that in this economic crisis,
los únicos que pierden
the only ones that lose
son los estudiantes.
are our kids, our students.
Para darles un ejemplo,
To give you an example,
en el área de transportación,
in the area of transportation,
teniendo muchos estudiantes,
having many students
desde pre-K hasta high school,
from pre-K to high school,
caminar
walking
millas de distancia,
many miles
batallando con la inclemencia del tiempo.
to fight inclement weather.
En el área de alimentación,
In the area of food,
recibiendo comidas por debajo de lo que se denomina nutrición.
receiving food that is below nutrition level.
Y en algunos casos,
And in some cases,
a punto de la descomposición.
to the point of decomposition of food and fruits and milk.
En el área de implementación escolar,
In the area of education and implementation,
no cuentan con el material didáctico
you do not count with the material
para elaborar sus trabajos
to elaborate on your work,
y las escuelas tampoco cuentan con los implementos necesarios.
and the schools do not even count with the necessary supplies and supports.
Como por ejemplo la escuela número 15, Christopher Columbus,
In that example, school number 15, Christopher Columbus,
que los estudiantes se tienen que sentar en jabas de plástico
that the students have to sit on plastic milk crates
porque no tienen las sillas apropiadas.
because you do not have the sufficient chairs for them to sit on.
Como también
Like
tener que contribuir con los viajes de nuestros hijos
having to contribute for those school trips,
y con el dinero que es lo que único que dependen
and with the only money that parents depend on
para poder realizar esos viajes.
to make the trip for that child.
Y cuando me refiero a que ustedes juraron
And when I tell you that you swore
el bienestar de todos,
the well-being of all,
no me refiero al 20% de los estudiantes,
I'm not referring to the 20% of the students,
sino a todos.
if not all of them.
Expenden el dinero, pagan el dinero
You pay the money
a mucho personal
to many individuals and many staff
incompetente,
that are incompetent,
como en el área de transportación,
like in the area of transportation,
special service,
special services,
comidas
lunch,
y personal educativo,
and educational personnel.
quienes estas mismas
That is, these very same people
se atreven a golpear a estudiantes de 3 y 4 años.
dare to strike a child that is 3 and 4 years old.
Y cuando se hacen las quejas,
And then when you look
no le toman las medidas necesarias a esto.
and see you do not take the appropriate action that you require.
Entonces pienso que antes de todo,
And then I think that before anything,
los estudiantes deben estar enfrente de ustedes
the students should be in front of you
y no detrás de ustedes.
and not behind you.
Y para darles una mejor solución y que estos niños puedan tener la mejor implementación,
To give them a better instruction and that they have a better implementation,
despidan a ese grupo de incompetentes.
to please fire the incompetent group.
Porque para tener incompetentes con uno basta.
Because to have one person that's incompetent, one is enough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next person is Edith Enriquez.
Google Translate.
Buenas noches. Mi nombre es Edith Enríquez y yo vengo.
My name is Edith Enriquez and I'm coming.
Tengo un niño con tiene problemas- ADHD.
I have a child that has ADHD.
He ido al Board of Education desde mayo.
I have gone to the Board of Education since
He
May.
entregado todos los papeles
I have handed in every paperwork required,
y siempre se pierde.
and it's always getting lost.
Me le iban a dar transportación al niño.
They were supposed to give him transportation.
Me dijeron que lo iban a recoger.
They told me they were going to pick him up,
Estoy afuera esperando media hora.
and I'm outside waiting half an hour,
No viene. Me voy caminando hasta la 23.
and there's no transportation, and I have to walk to school number 23 on foot.
Entonces, quería ver si me podían ayudar acerca de que mi hijo necesita. Casi no puede hablar.
And I want to know if you can help because my child needs and he can barely speak.
Y la que me queda cerca a mí es la de la 29.
And the school that's close to me is school number 29.
Y no me quieren dar atención a mi niño.
And they don't want to pay attention to my child.
Eso es todo.
That is all.
Can we have someone take her information?
You're just gonna lose it again.
Yeah. Take her information.
Next person is Ana Toxira.
I don't care.
Toxira.
Oh, Google Translate.
Teixeira.
No, lo hago porque lo hago por los niños, por los padres, por todo lo que lo tengo que hacer, ¿verdad? Todavía estoy aquí esta noche.
Buenas noches.
Good evening.
Yo soy la mamá de un estudiante en la escuela 15, Christopher Columbus,
I am the mom of a student at Christopher Columbus, school number 15.
de primer grado.
He's in the first grade.
Y en la clase de mi hija
And in my daughter's
son
class,
30 niños,
it is 30 children,
una maestra sin ningún asistente.
one teacher with no assistant.
Los niños no tienen suficientes sillas.
The children do not have sufficient chairs.
Aquí le tengo la prueba de que los niños se sientan en cajas de plástico
And here I have
con
the proof
almohadones encima.
that they're sitting on milk crates with little cushions on them.
Ahora se lo voy a pasar para que usted lo vea.
I will pass around my phone so that you can see it for yourselves.
Otra cosa que nos está concerniendo a los papás es la situación de la falta de aire acondicionado para los niños.
Something else that is of great concern to us parents is the lack of air conditioning for our children.
Nosotros no quisimos organizarnos, pero no sabemos cómo actuar. Entonces queremos ver si podemos pedirles a ustedes, por favor.
We didn't want to organize as parents, and we didn't know how to act, so we come here today, and I'm asking you today.
Si ustedes pueden tomar alguna medida o darnos autorización para colocar aunque sea aire acondicionado de ventana.
If you can take some action or at least authorize a window air conditioner.
Para que los niños no estén trabajando con 90 grados en el basement sin aire.
So that our children are not working under these hazardous conditions in a basement where there's 90-degree weather and no AC.
Y además el playground donde los más pequeñitos juegan.
And the playground where our children play.
Viejo.
It's old.
Absolutamente viejo.
It's absolutely
Mi
old.
hija mayor tiene 21 años y ella se graduó.
My oldest daughter is
de la
21
misma escuela,
and she
de
graduated
Christopher
from the same
Columbus.
school.
Cuando ella empezó la escuela en segundo grado, ese playground ya estaba viejo.
When she started school in second
Y
grade,
hasta
that
el día de
playground was
hoy
already
está ahí.
old.
Y los pequeñitos de kindergarten y a veces los de primer grado juegan en ese lugar.
And
Es
still to
feo.
this day it is there, and these pre-K children through second grade are still playing there, and it's old and it's dirty.
So, por ahora, muchas gracias y les voy a enseñar.
So for right now, very much thank you, and I will be passing around my cell phone so that you can look at the pictures of the milk crates that our children are sitting in.
Should give the security guard one.
You can also feel free to look at the poster board with pictures of school number 15. It's posted on the side for all of you to see.
Hey, you better pay her.
I expect my paycheck this week.
No,
Great job.
She's gonna sing.
Darn. We're having karaoke. I want to sing karaoke.
I don't care. She looks like Beetlejuice. Oh God. Nina doesn't come to none of these functions. She's too blessed. Nina. At least she comes. Colleen has to be here.
Wendy's feeling offended that nobody took her information out. Nobody wants her information. Oh, that's on her phone.
At this time, I close the public comments portion of this meeting.
Famous
I just want to say this, Ms. Hugelmeyer, these are a couple, there's a few issues there that warrant a high degree of oversight, especially at School 15. You highlighted missing chairs, kids sitting on crates. I can't imagine that being the case, and if it is the case, there is definite, I don't know where miscommunication happened, or who dropped the ball, but whoever did, we need to understand it, and we need to make sure that it does not ever happen again, because it's a process. It's as simple as saying, well, if you have 700 people, it should be 700 chairs, if that's what you need to do. And if that's not happening, then we definitely need to identify it and get it corrected as soon as possible. Another thing that I thought was worth taking a look at is, because my understanding is food services on a daily basis for every school receives anything that's perishable on that day. So milk is received the same day, fruits are received the same day, and that's what I understand. And if that's not happening and there's perishable items that are being kept overnight and being served to students, that's definitely something that we need to address immediately. Because that's not my understanding, and it never has been, that food services operates in that manner, or in that regard, at least not in buildings that don't have refrigeration. And last thing, definitely, I guess, just School 15 in general, I mean, there seems to be a very long list of issues. So if we can have a report, I guess, either ed management, legal, whichever group we want to meet. So, thank you.
There are chairs in storage all throughout the district. It is as simple as putting in a request, and immediately, I explained to the parent, immediately, Plant and Property provides the chairs to the school that is in need. There's been great response to our other schools, so I don't understand why this is happening in School 15, but this would be resolved by tomorrow. Talk to the
Madam President, at one of our ed management meetings, I think I requested that we bring all the principals together so that we can talk to facilities and that we can really bring our school administrations to one table. Because I really think there's a serious sense of disconnect that as a commissioner, I'm not really willing to tolerate the disconnect that exists between our schools and our central office. So I would like to see that we invite them to our next ed management meeting, as I requested the last time, to have facilities and all property management meet with our principals so that they know their rights and what they can ask and can't ask for. Because oftentimes, principals, teachers, classroom instructors tell you they didn't know, which is totally unacceptable. It shouldn't exist in our school system. When we have a school system with the type of budget that we have, and the amount of students that we have, we should be able to accommodate all our students with proper chairs. I mean, the board can look at the pictures the parent just showed, the superintendent, and it's really unacceptable. And we should not let another day go by without, somebody should be at that school tomorrow and should make sure that there are classes, there's chairs in that class, and there are chairs in every class, and we need to touch base with facilities and management to make sure that they're making sure every class and every child has a seat in this district and is not sitting on any crates, especially in our preschool age. And yeah, I mean, all levels. You know, I know the special needs classes have different structures, but none of this should be tolerated. And I know, you know, there is central management, there's supervisors, principals, but you know, there comes a point in time where, you know, visitations have to happen, and we gotta see for ourselves what's actually going on. Because, you know, we can't get the stuff secondhand. We got to see for ourselves what's really happening in these classrooms. Because stuff will happen and they will report back to us that, oh yeah, we got to take it care of. And then to the parent, the same information will be given, oh, it was taken care of, but it's really not being taken care of. From transportation to proper accommodations in the classroom. It's just like I mentioned to you earlier about the high schools. The high schools need the support. The high school need TAs, they need ample amount of security. We have one of the largest high school systems in the country, with, you know, a total of almost, I don't know, almost 6,000 students. So all the buildings need that support. You know, we have to make sure that we're held accountable, but we're getting the accurate reports of what's taking place at these schools. You know, the reports that we hear are not acceptable, you know, from safety and from cleanliness. You know, last board meeting, we passed a resolution for sustainable schools to make sure that our schools were clean. If our schools are not clean and the kids are not learning in a clean environment, they're not going to want to go to school, they're not going to want to learn, and it's not going to be a healthy environment for the kids to learn. So I just want to encourage us throughout the district to do better, step our game up, and really come to the need of these parents and these students in a more urgent fashion rather than later, and rather than we'll get to it later. We need to make this happen now. Thank you.
Mr. Mira, if I may, this is why a CPAC is extremely important, because it identifies the systemic issues that are happening throughout special services, and not just to identify one, but to identify all. And that has yet not come to fruition instead of a regulation that was passed back in March. Names should have been presented to the board in reference for representatives for a CPAC, being as I was already booted out. And it's still pending, and it hasn't time to... It's a statement which you have not done anything about. So I expect this board to respect that, because there's a lot of special education students here. There's exactly 2,000 students here. So I expect you to pay attention.
Madam President, has there been a representative appointed to us?
No. The CPAC was established on July 1st. It is functioning. They have met. They've already met twice, actually.
The names were never presented to the board. Where were the names?
Are there names that are supposed to be presented to the board?
Yes. We have the names of the
Did you see them? Where were the flyers sent out? How many hours before? Did you see them, Mr. Rodriguez? I didn't see them. Did the special ed committee see them? They're all here. What good is the group if nobody knows?
We're going to request the names so that we get them, because I haven't seen the names, so I need to see the names.
Thank you for your transparency. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So can we request a meeting between the properties committees to address what we are talking right now? Mr. Kennedy, can you schedule a meeting?
Sure. Madam President, you request a properties committee meeting with the principals?
First with the property committees and to address to the principal after.
Okay, what I would like to have at Ed Management and maybe properties, they should probably both come together and have the principals there so they can voice their concerns in their schools so that they can be addressed.
So what are we doing, Madam President? What are we doing? I can hear you. What are we doing? We are schedule a meeting with the properties committee, and then we can schedule also with all the principals at the same time. I think we're going to schedule that. This is possible. It is.
We will try and coordinate. It's based on their availability. These meetings will take place after hours. If it's done during the day, we can certainly pull our principals. So if it was done during the working hours, we can certainly coordinate a meeting with all the principals. Our committee meetings generally take place in the evening, so it will be based on their availability to attend.
I mean, we can do it in 2 different groups.
Absolutely. I'll be glad to schedule it.
Thank you. Mr. Kennedy, can you take us to the rest of the...
Excuse me, Mr. Rodriguez, to your question before for Robert's Rules is Chapter 6,
Paragraph 17.
I would have to correct you. I have it as, I checked. It's part 1, section 5 of our rules. It says a vote on a seconded motion unless motion to amend cannot be withdrawn. Meaning that you couldn't, once it's seconded, you couldn't come in with a date.
Wow, he's not a lawyer.
So I'll we can discuss it later.
Subsidiary motion.
Okay.
And there's precedence over the main motion, which would have been your motion.
Okay, we can discuss it later. I just want to make some comments. Thank you, Mr. Cortez, for speaking with the 3 ladies that came and trying to take care of their concerns. It seems like, especially with the milk rate, it seems like in the classroom they probably didn't request a C, probably because it was an easier fix than going through the proper channels. But we're going to find that out, and thank you for that. The one thing I do want to kind of that does disturb me is, Mr. Lorenz spoke about it, but I actually was going to speak with the superintendent later, was the issue of campaigning in the schools. We have a bad history of campaigning here in the schools, so much so that one of our state legislators had to pass a law to strengthen some of the laws already that disallows campaigning in schools, in public schools especially. I was shown, and today I want to ask a question, as you guys know, I was a union leader. Is the union allowed to use school email for political purposes? In terms of, is the union allowed to use school email to push the candidates that they have endorsed? Can the Elizabeth Education Association use Board of Education given emails to notify their members of candidates that they have endorsed?
Generally speaking, we have in the past allowed the EA to use the email system to communicate with their members.
That I understand. That I understand because I've used school email to communicate with my members, but I was never allowed to use it by law to push members that either our state union or even our local endorsed. So
we've never told the EA what they can communicate to their members.
But I know there's.
Well, you should endorse all candidates, not some.
In fact, it's an unfair labor practice for.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Speaking to the mic, please, so that everyone.
Again, I understand that they're allowed to use the school emails. We know that. That's a given. They can use school email to communicate about a wide range of issues. But they're not allowed to use school email to campaign for endorsed candidates.
Well, again, as I said before, union is permitted to communicate with their members. It's an unfair labor practice for a district to interfere with the operation of the union itself. And that's where, as the business administrator indicated, they're permitted to use their means of communication with their members.
Okay, then let me put this even more clearly. Are they allowed to use board emails to campaign?
No.
They're communicating to their individual members?
Yes.
Yes, they have the right to communicate with their individual membs.
That's why
the district can interfere with them to try to communicate. It
About
can potentially be an unfair labor practice.
So the EEA is allowed to say that they endorse the two candidates that are sitting here on the dais with us. They can say that through school email.
Okay, can I ask a question? That is the same example as a board member can go into a school and talk to the principal, teachers, and everybody else. But they can't go to a school and say, vote for me. You know, that's unethical. You know, the mayor of the city can sit inside of the building and he can have employees and he can have residents, but he can't say, vote for the mayor. The board member can't go and sit in this meeting and say, vote for me on a particular day. You know, so if you're communicating in email, you can communicate to your constituents, you can communicate to your members. I get it. On negotiations, which makes sense, right? They can communicate. I get it. But they can't say, we need you to come out.
The question that he asked had to do with the operation of union activities, and that's
not union activity.
It's very clear. Can they campaign?
I mean, can they campaign, basically? That's the question.
Yes or no?
It's supposed to be within the context of communicating with their members.
He doesn't know. Yes or no?
Okay, so that's enough. So, what concerns me is the level of campaigning in our school districts is obviously taken away from our educational goals, our purpose. So I hope, I know, Mrs. Hugelmeyer, I know that it's something that you don't tolerate, and I hope you can speak to people personally before it gets to the level of going to court and getting into that convoluted issue. You can please reach out and let your building principals know to please keep an eye out for campaigning, because it's a major issue. It has always been a major issue here in Elizabeth. It's been a big reason why some of the laws have been passed in our state and signed by our governor. Even.
And that's how Clinton got
he also agrees. So that just worries me. I'll show you the email that some of the people were receiving, and it was using board email. So I would just hope to caution people. I wouldn't want people losing their jobs because they're campaigning. For either side, it doesn't matter really who. Wrong is wrong. So,
Mr. Roberts, if I may, prior to the, I believe it was just before Labor Day, I sent out a district-wide memo with our policy regarding campaign fundraising, and that policy was the principals and supervisors and directors were instructed to post that policy within the area where the employees receive notices. So anybody that works in our buildings knows what our policy is regarding campaign fundraising as a result of that policy, and it spells out what's allowed, what isn't allowed, basically. So if someone was in violation of that policy, it says right in there there's repercussions, and it could even affect their employment. So from the business office standpoint, at least as far as making the district people aware of our policy, I believe we, from a district standpoint, have met that responsibility. To go back to the EEA, once again, it's been past practice and we've been directed that the EEA is allowed to use our email system to communicate. They're also allowed to go into the members' mailboxes if it was a paper thing, same thing. So I couldn't go to the EEA president or management and say, this is what you're going to communicate to your members. And I believe I would put the district at risk for unfair disseminating charge.
You put the district at risk because it's absolutely ridiculous. $900 she contributes.
That is limited.
Yeah, I don't know if I saw the email, it was basically just saying this is the candidates that we endorse. I know that could be perceived as campaigning, but that was a communication from the DEA based on what their procedure is to endorse candidates, to communicate who they were endorsing.
Right. I was always told, even by NJEA lawyers, that any kind of campaigning should be done through home emails, because though it may be looked away, certain districts, it's not allowed. So, once again, I'll do some of the research and bring that to you. And
Yeah, that would be an item that labor councils through our board council would have to meet with NJE local and.
I just wanted to voice my displeasure and I'll take a look and we'll go from there.
I was trying to address the perception that there's rampant campaigning going on in the districts. If it is, then they're in violation of the policy that everyone's been notified about.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So, Mr. Kennedy, can you take us to the rest of the agenda?
Rest of the agenda, sure.
Oh, you want to say something?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
I want to speak on that because first of all, I take offense to what Commissioner Rodriguez said. But before I even start my comments on what Mr. Rodriguez said, I want to start out by first thanking the Elizabeth Education Association. Again, one of the largest education.
Please keep the audience quiet or remove them.
Oh my God, those
I'd like to thank the Elizabeth Education Association, and I want to also recognize, because he had just left, our president was here, Rose Corretto, and our vice president, Mr. Joe Cortico, who have been officers of the organization, of the association for many, many years, and upstanding individuals. This organization, one of the largest in the state, I just had the great honor of interviewing before them myself and Ms. Spina and the other candidates, Ms. Lorenz, and I think even Mr. Rossi. Four of the 7 candidates running for the school board seats chose to interview in front of them. So I am honored that they endorsed myself, Mrs. Spina, and Ms. Lorenz. And that being said, I want to thank the association for that endorsement in this upcoming election. Now, in regard to Mr. Rodriguez's comments, which it's incredible, it's to speak of hypocrisy, or to speak of someone who really is, I guess, become a professional at double speak. It was Mr. Rodriguez and his Super PAC campaign that was funded by our super powerful Senator Ray Lesniak and his super federal PAC that spent well over $400,000 in money that was contributed to their campaign from bailed bondsmen, Internet Gambling Association, fearless alcohol beverage companies, longshoremen, hundreds of them. They put more people on the street, hired more kids at $10 an hour, and the very thing that the very thing that Commissioner Rodriguez is now talking about is the very thing that he initiated 2 years ago when in front of every school, in front of every open house, they had their volunteers with T-shirts saying out there, "Stop this corrupt board," paying them $10 an hour, handing out flyers in front of the school, having children in school uniforms going throughout the district. I myself at the time thought, hey, that doesn't sound like a nonprofit. The very thing that he now complains about, that people are out there, passionate volunteers that are out there on our behalf, knocking on doors, talking to the voters, talking to the constituents, to not be misrepresented by individuals such as Mr. Rodriguez, who, let me remind those at home watching, that on January 7th, reorganization meeting, when this board submitted an agenda to this board with our superintendent, agenda that was crafted by the existing board along with the superintendent of schools, O.B. Meyer, he goes ahead, they throw out that agenda and go ahead and fire the entire legal department that night. Fired all of them to say the next morning at 9 o'clock, remove your desk, clean your desk, clean your offices, go home. That wasn't just the attorneys, that was their secretaries, their staff, their clerical, clean out. An illegal move, but they chose to do that. The very same commissioner who a month following that was ready to put the the superintendent out on administrative leave. They were going to move and vote to move this. This is they had a list of names of this district that we had sought after, a list of names of people they were going to remove. They had already picked carpets, they had already picked curtains for their offices. There were many people that night that had been promised jobs and employment. If that doesn't disturb all those who are here today and those at home, a district that prides itself on allowing a superintendent to make recommendations to this district based on competency, intelligence, and experience, not on political favors. That's what they're going to bring to this board. That's despicable. That is sad. That is disturbing. The people who come here tonight, or those who find it fit to be here and to be bitter at our board president, to mock her for not a week, a month, but for 9 months now, to mock a board president. It is their right to do that. But rather than be bitter, and rather than sit here and worry about being bitter, I just want to be better, and I want to make this district better. So I don't have time to worry about those who are just going to criticize, condemn this mission, because anyone can do that. We're going to work on being positive like we have for the past 12 years, and that's what I hope myself and my colleague here, God willing, we get elected back on November 3rd with my colleague here, upstairs speaking, and my other running mate, Mr. Lorenz. Because you know what? That's what we're going to do, is to continue what this district has done now for 12 years. Okay? That's the difference of what's going on. So what they want to do is come up here, Mr. Rodriguez, challenge the board, be critical of the board. He's just constantly gets attacked. It's being critical. Never a positive, never one single suggestion to this board on improvement. We came on, let's just do high school dropout graduation. Did you see the 6 principals today who made presentations? Every high school graduation rate is going up. Every single one. Test scores are going up. For another national blue ribbon schools. Our property values go up. Enrollment is going up. People moving into the city. But never one single positive note from that side of the table over there. It's criticize, jump, table, motion. Nothing positive to move this district forward. That it's going to come down. People's choices, but that's all I have to say. Thank you, Madam President.
Yeah, but we employees don't have to pay.
Wait, you've been warned once already. If people can't control themselves in the audience, we're going to have to.
Well, the board can't attack the audience either.
You've been warned. This is the second time now. Please control yourself, and you'll have to be quiet.
Please control yourselves, ladies.
Please. So we have done nothing illegal and it cannot be removed. So,
yes, you could.
continue. No, you can't. I don't have anything illegal. I'm sitting here on my phone listening to him speak. Torturing us. So, this is not something illegal, so it cannot be removed.
I'm running for school board, independent, number 2. This is campaign time, right?
Might as well, Maria. Come and give us your pitch. Thank you.
1 and 2, all the way. Stephanie and Maria DeRossi. All the way.
Campaign.
I'm independent.
You guys should have...
Teach for the children. It's my turn. I'm sorry, I'm poor. I can't afford no campaign.
Mr. Montero sits on that board illegally, and he comes here and he preaches to us, and nobody says a word.
I'm glad you didn't tell me.
So many people here, we have to start over.
I'm too independent. No problem.
And you need a majority. You can't just leave. If you leave, I will take order of the meeting. I'm vice president and we move. Mr. Kennedy, you know that. Please let's move through the agenda.
This is who we have as the president of the board. Walks away from her position.
We need a motion to go into recess. It needs to be seconded and it needs to have a majority vote. If you leave, I will take the and we move. Mr. Kennedy, can you please move us through the agenda?
So Vice President spoke.
Wait.
We don't pass the
Miss Elsie's here. She's here. Mr. Kennedy, you know we didn't take a motion to go into recess, right?
We need a motion to recess. They left the meeting, so can we assume that they left the meeting? So then the meeting's closed?
This is who we have running the show.
But you know.
Well, the parents took over the meeting.
He needs to speak into the mic. This gets uploaded to YouTube.
The meeting's not necessary. So then can the president go through, so let me ask you this, can the president go through the agenda without the board secretary? Like, we can go through it, correct?
Well, the lawyer's coming back. Better.
According to Robert rules,